If you're part of the 87% of American families who grab pizza at least once a month, it might be time to set that slice down and really pay attention. What you're about to hear about five of the biggest names in pizza might completely flip your perspective on what's become a go-to Friday night meal. For most people, pizza seems simple: crust, sauce, cheese, and maybe a little pepperoni. How bad could it be, right? Well, brace yourself, because the pizza world today isn't about flavor or freshness anymore. It's about churning out something that looks like food while saving as much time and money as possible. We're talking about a $50 billion industry that's mastered the art of disguising food-like products as a deal. But when food companies slash costs to bump up profits, they don't just cut corners, they replace real ingredients with chemicals you can't pronounce and practices that make your stomach question your life choices. Today on How to Know, we're uncovering what's really going on at five major pizza chains that are basically charging you top dollar for low-effort, low-quality meals. We'll break down the shortcuts they take that impact both your taste buds and your health. Then, we'll spotlight three pizza chains that actually care, proving that fast doesn't have to mean fake. Before we dive in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What you're about to discover could help your family avoid some pretty questionable dinners. And once you learn what's behind those cheerful jingles and glossy ads, you'll never look at pizza the same way again. Let's kick things off with Domino's, the company that staked its reputation on delivering pizza to your door in 30 minutes flat. But here's the catch. That quick delivery comes at a hidden cost that goes far beyond your receipt total. You might remember back in 2009 when Domino's admitted that their pizza kinda sucked. CEO Patrick Doyle got on camera and straight up said the pizza had no taste and the crust was like cardboard. Harsh, but honest. They spent years and countless dollars reinventing the recipe. And yeah, it tasted better for a while. But what they didn't broadcast was this. The system that created that awful pizza in the first place never really changed. It's like slapping new paint on a crumbling wall. Looks better for a minute, but the cracks are still there. That new dough, still loaded with preservatives and dough enhancers that could survive the apocalypse. Sure, it's more palatable than the original cardboard, but it's still built for speed, not taste. These aren't handmade crusts. They're mass-produced, frozen, shipped, then defrosted, and machine-shaped. That's not fresh. It's factory-made food. And the sauce? They gave it a makeover too, but it's still mostly high-fructose corn syrup with artificial flavorings pretending to be tomatoes. Real tomato content is minimal, buried under enough additives to make a lab technician sweat. As for the cheese, the improvements are more about marketing than substance. Yes, they added more mozzarella, but it's still blended with oils and synthetic flavors to create the perfect melt. Not for flavor, but for speed. It's basically a trade-up from bad plastic cheese to slightly more convincing plastic cheese. And even that didn't last. As time went on, rising costs and pressure to keep delivery times low pushed Domino's right back into old habits. Former employees talk about how training was cut, quality standards dropped, and all focus shifted back to delivering fast. In fact, customer satisfaction scores for food quality have gone down since 2015. That means any benefit from better ingredients got wiped out by poor execution. The real issue, that 30-minute delivery model. To meet it, pizzas are pulled from the oven early, then finished under heat lamps in the car. So your pizza might look done, but it's often undercooked, leaving hot spots for bacteria to thrive. And that handy tracker that says your pizza passed the quality check, that's often code for "we didn't have time to look." The franchise model makes it worse. Each store has to meet strict time goals while also turning a profit. That means health and quality get sacrificed to keep those timers happy. Cross-contamination is a real risk when tools and surfaces aren't cleaned properly. But proper cleaning takes time, and time is something Domino's can't afford. At the end of the day, you can't fix deep-rooted problems just by swapping in new ingredients. If the system still prioritizes speed over quality, you're always going to get subpar results. Patrick Doyle's honesty was a breath of fresh air, but Domino's inability to stick with those improvements tells you all you need to know. If the clock runs the kitchen, the customer always ends up with the short end of the stick. Now, let's turn our attention to Chuck E. Cheese, the place where pizza takes a backseat to flashing lights, sticky arcade tokens, and the chaos of kids running wild. If you've ever found yourself eating pizza there and thinking, this tastes kinda off, you're not alone. Chuck E. Cheese is built for distraction, not dining. And once you see past the arcade noise and birthday party balloons, what you're left with is a pizza product that barely qualifies as food. Let's rewind to 2019, when a viral video by YouTuber Shane Dawson made headlines. He raised suspicions that Chuck E. Cheese was recycling uneaten pizza slices. Photos of oddly shaped pizzas with mismatched crusts and uneven toppings started circulating. Some slices thicker than others, cheese sliding in different directions, and edges that didn't line up. It looked like someone stitched together leftover pieces like a puzzle from hell. The company denied it, of course. They insisted all pizzas were made fresh. But the problem wasn't just the conspiracy. It was what the images revealed about their process. Even if they weren't reusing uneaten pizza, their pizzas naturally look that awful. That's a huge red flag. Whether it's poor training, lazy prep, or chaotic kitchen systems, it all points to one thing: a complete lack of care in food quality. Let's break down the components of a Chuck E. Cheese pizza. The dough is designed for maximum shelf life and minimum flavor. Instead of rising and developing like real pizza dough should, it's pre-mixed, stabilized with chemicals, and pressed into something that resembles crust in shape only. The result? A base that tastes more like cardboard than anything you'd willingly eat. The sauce? It's essentially red corn syrup, artificially sweetened, laced with preservatives, and about as close to real tomato as grape soda is to wine. The sweetness is overwhelming, and any natural acidity from actual tomatoes is buried under a mountain of synthetic flavoring. It's like they asked, what if ketchup was worse, and then ran with it. And then there's the cheese, or rather, a cheese-like substance. Chuck E. Cheese uses a processed cheese product that contains less than 40% actual mozzarella. The rest is mostly oil, stabilizers, and artificial ingredients. It doesn't melt so much as sweat. Once heated, it separates into oily puddles that slide off your slice like it's trying to escape the shame of being associated with this meal. And even the toppings suffer. The pepperoni is greasy and overly salted, likely packed with fillers and flavor enhancers. Vegetables are rare and usually overcooked, and don't expect them to be fresh. More often than not, they're from a bag that was opened sometime last week. But here's where things go from gross to genuinely concerning: food safety. Chuck E. Cheese locations often suffer from serious hygiene issues. You've got kids touching every surface, games, tokens, tables, themselves, and then running right up to the food counter. Employees go from wiping tables to preparing food with minimal hand washing, if any. The result? Cross-contamination is not just likely, it's basically guaranteed. Reports from health inspections have shown repeated issues: poor temperature control, pests, and unsafe food handling practices. Some locations prepare pizzas hours in advance and simply reheat them when an order comes in. That means your pizza could have been sitting out since before you even walked in the door. But the business model explains it all. The goal isn't great food, it's crowd control. The pizza is there to keep kids fed while they run wild. Chuck E. Cheese knows parents will put up with bad food if it means their child is entertained and occupied. And that's the gamble they're taking, that your standards drop the moment your kids start smiling. But let's be honest, there's only so far a parent's patience can stretch. And that 2019 pizza scandal proved that even exhausted moms and dads have a breaking point. If your pizza looks like it was made from leftover scraps and handled by a raccoon, something's gotta give. Now, let's talk about the pizza chain that made cheap and easy its brand identity: Little Caesars. With their famous hot and ready promise and those $5 price tags, you'd think they were performing a public service. But the truth is, there's a reason it's so cheap, and it's not generosity.
Let's start with the crust. Traditional pizza dough takes time to rise, ferment, and develop rich flavor, but Little Caesars has no time for that. Their dough is a high-speed science project engineered with conditioners and additives that allow it to go from mixing bowl to oven in 30 minutes or less. Instead of flavor, you get structure. Instead of natural rise, you get chemical inflation. Former employees describe receiving frozen discs of dough that are thawed in industrial microwaves, then stretched by machines until they resemble something pizza-like. It's more Play-Doh than dough. Texture? Spongy. Flavor? Non-existent. Now, the sauce. If you've ever wondered why it tastes like sugary tomato soup concentrate, that's because it pretty much is. It's made from reconstituted tomato paste, sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, and bulked out with enough salt to dry out your taste buds. It's shelf-stable for weeks because fresh, natural ingredients weren't invited to this party. And then there's the cheese, or what passes for cheese. The blend used by Little Caesars contains less than 60% real mozzarella. The rest? Milk protein concentrate, vegetable oil, and emulsifiers. It's basically a cheese-like substance built to melt fast, stretch just enough, and cost as little as possible. Think of it as cheese cosplay. Now let's get to the meat, specifically the pepperoni. Here's the truth. It's not exactly meat in the traditional sense. Industry insiders say it's often made from a blend of mechanically separated chicken and pork fat, and filler agents like potato starch. Color is added with nitrates to give it that red look you recognize. Flavor? More salt and sugar than spice. You're not biting into real meat. You're munching on meat-flavored gelatin that squeaked past the FDA. The hot and ready model is all about convenience, but that convenience comes with a food safety cost. Pizzas are cooked in batches and then sit under heat lamps for hours. During this time, their temperature slowly drops, creating the perfect breeding ground for bacteria. So when you pick up that pizza, it may be lukewarm and soggy and potentially unsafe. Health inspections back this up. Reports from various locations show recurring issues: improper hand washing, cross-contamination between raw and cooked ingredients, and food being stored at unsafe temperatures. The emphasis is so heavily placed on speed that employees are often told to skip steps to keep things moving. Cooking times are shortened, thermometers are ignored, gloves are reused. The result is food that may be quick, but not clean or safe. And here's the kicker. Many Little Caesars employees say they don't even eat the food themselves. Multiple former workers admit they brought food from home because they didn't trust what came out of their own ovens. If that doesn't send up a red flag, I don't know what will. Let's shift now to a chain that once wore the crown, Pizza Hut. Back in the day, Pizza Hut was the pizza place. They had cozy sit-down restaurants, thick pan crusts, and that legendary stuffed crust that made every bite an event. But somewhere along the line, they traded their crown for cost-cutting, and their glory days are now just a memory. Take that original pan crust. It used to be something special, made fresh in-house, allowed to rise naturally with a crispy edge and chewy center. Today, most locations receive frozen dough that's thawed and used as needed. That signature crust? Now it's a soggy, lifeless slab that lacks both crunch and character. And the sauce? It used to simmer for hours, pulling flavor from real ingredients. Now it's a processed concentrate mixed with water, heated in minutes and poured on like it's paint. The end result is something that tastes closer to ketchup than the robust sauce Pizza Hut used to be known for. And no, not even good ketchup. But perhaps the biggest blow is consistency. Because Pizza Hut runs on a franchise model, the quality of your pizza depends entirely on which store you visit. One location might take care and follow recipes, while the next one cuts every possible corner. It's a gamble every time you order. Health inspections paint a worrying picture. Reports from various locations show temperature violations, especially with cheese and meats stored well above safe levels. Cross-contamination between raw and cooked ingredients has been flagged multiple times, and pizzas often sit for long periods before being delivered, meaning you're not getting fresh and hot, you're getting old and nuked. And even the iconic stuffed crust has lost its magic. It used to be filled with real mozzarella and hand-tucked by trained staff. Now it's a pre-formed crust injected with processed cheese product that barely melts and barely tastes like cheese. It's not indulgent anymore, it's just filler. Turnover rates are high across the board, and that means poorly trained employees are often handling your food with little guidance. Hygiene protocols? Often ignored. Food safety steps? Skipped to save time. The race to keep up with faster chains like Domino's and Little Caesars has pushed Pizza Hut into a downward spiral of shortcuts and substitutions. And when the workers themselves aren't trained to care, it's no wonder that what ends up in your box is more of a warning sign than a meal. Rounding out the Big Five, Papa John's has no shortage of scandals, but the biggest issue might be what's happening in the kitchen. That once touted better ingredients have quietly shifted. That sauce made from fresh tomatoes? Now it's concentrate blended with artificial flavors. The dough? Still technically never frozen, but packed with preservatives to last far longer than it should. And the cheese? It's no longer 100% mozzarella, just another cost-cutting blend made to stretch dollars, not flavor. Portions are smaller, quality is inconsistent, employees are undertrained, and delivery pizzas sit in warming bags far too long. It's not just disappointing, it's risky. But here's the good news. Not every chain is cutting corners. Mod Pizza, Blaze Pizza, and even Costco's food court have shown that fast, affordable pizza can be made with fresh dough, real sauce, and cheese that actually melts the way it should. So the next time you're craving a slice, make the smarter choice. Read labels, ask questions, support places that respect your health and your taste buds. Pizza doesn't have to be a race to the bottom unless you let it be. If this opened your eyes, share it. And remember, How to Know is here to help you eat smarter.